Thank you for watching. I'm going to do a book review of Beware of Angels by Roger Morneau. It involves a murder case from 1988. 2 innocent people lost their lives. Horrific, tragic event. Where do angels come in? See, Roger is somewhat of a evil angel, fallen angel expert. He had first-hand witness with these fallen angels. Despite what people told him, objects were levitated in Roger's apartment. He knew a fallen angel was doing it. Roger asked the spirit to speak. The spirit spoke, I assume in French. Roger spoke French most of his life. That was his native tongue. He could also speak English very well and write in English. But in 1946, these events happened, where he was speaking only French. In the secret society Roger left, they all spoke French. It's in Montreal, Canada. I'm looking currently for the building of the secret society, 1946. I'm looking extensively, thoroughly, to an extreme degree. I've narrowed it down to 10 potential buildings, but my search has just begun. Even though I've been searching for a couple years now, it's off and on, casually here and there, but I've been searching to an extreme degree as of late, and I have it down to 10 candidate buildings that are potentially the building Roger went to in 1946, where there's a worship room of the gods. People worshipped fallen angels. He has since passed on in 1998. But when this book came out in 1997, 1 year before his death, even up to the last year of Roger's life, he was warning people of fallen angels, warning people of evil spirits. That's the whole point of this book. In 1988, a culmination of events transpired where 2 people died. Horrific, tragic event. I've never heard this story until I read this book. Where do angels come in? Well, Roger was starting to hear New Age ideas in his regular church study groups. They mentioned New Age concepts called New Light. New light from new messengers of God that are appearing. And that set off a lot of red flags for Roger. It's like, sounds like fallen angels introducing false information. So he kept an eye on it, asked people to forward him any information of anyone talking about it. That's how Roger heard about it. Roger flew to the location of the Halstead sisters, who were imprisoned for their part in the murder of 2 innocent people and the shooting of 2 other people that miraculously survived. So 4 people were shot with the intent of those 4 people dying. 2 people survived, 2 people died immediately. Horrible. What would cause someone to do such a thing? See, what makes this story unique is angels told them to shoot those people. Angels said those people are totaled. Totaled is a vernacular invented by the angels, meaning someone is totally gone and demons are totally possessing their bodies, and that the person's spirit soul is no longer in the body. They're totaled. Therefore, they're no longer human. And if you kill them, you're killing a demon-possessed, soulless person. According to the false information, the false doctrine, this is obviously not true, but it was a deception of these entities. It sounds like something they made up, like the devil made me do it. Oh, I'm hearing voices. See, there's a YouTube channel where a guy focuses on people who pretend to be crazy and people who commit heinous crimes, people who say the devil made me do it, I'm hearing demon voices, and you get to watch the video of the people pretending to be crazy, and the second the investigator leaves the room, they're normal. pretending to be down. And the second the investigator leaves the room, they're normal, looking for the camera, and they see it. These people often, at the end, will make excuses and say, "Oh, I need a lawyer." The investigator said, "Oh, the demon's asking you to get a lawyer?" So these investigators, they're familiar with the lie often used by horrendous killers of the devil made me do it, I'm hearing demon voices, because they have a false concept. They're going to go to a cushy insane asylum and hopefully go home because they're not crazy. Oh, magically I'm cured. I'm no longer crazy. I can go home and just get off scot-free. That's their hope. But the fact is, some people who hear voices are not crazy. What's the proof that these people are any different? Well, it was a Bible study group of approximately 10 people who were Seventh-day Adventists. They worshiped on Saturday. They formed their own Bible study group, separate from the church. They focused on angelic verses in the Bible, and they said to themselves, why can we not communicate with angels on high, just like they did in olden times? And they sought that, and the Halstead sisters, one of them said, at the end, that's all it was communicating with angels and 0% Bible study. No Bible study, 100% communicating with angels. Now, how do they communicate with angels? First of all, this isn't mass hysteria. This isn't mass delusion. This is 10 people hearing and seeing entities in their study group room, manifesting. I'm sure when it started, it was just one voice here, one seeing it there, but it culminated where all 10 members could either hear or see entities speaking, communicating, manifesting, materializing in the room. Some of the members got freaked out and left. So I don't know how small it was during the end. It could have been as small as the Halstead sisters and a couple more people. It could have been as small as the Halstead sisters and their children. It could have been that small. But Leo was the child who could see the beings better than anyone and hear them better than anyone. But these aren't a child's delusions. Independent of the child, there were adults, all right? Out of the 10, there were many adults, men and women, who could see and hear. According to the testimony of multiple witnesses, multiple Bible study group members, some could hear the voice audibly, as if it was me speaking, anyone speaking, audibly, like you're hearing now. Some could hear the voice in their head, not from their ear, but straight to their head. What you hear in New Age, telepathic, extraterrestrial communications all the time. Well, these telepathic extraterrestrial communication isn't a New Age thing. People were receiving telepathic communications from spirits before they were aliens 100 years ago. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, psychic mediums were receiving telepathic communication from spirits before they pretended to be extraterrestrials, aliens. Well, in this guise, it's interesting because you got to understand this Bible study group obsessed on angels. The negative entities said, sure, we'll go with the angel angle and we will pretend to be angels. Or, they're fallen angels anyway, but they take on many masks, many guises. It's not mass delusion, it's not mass hysteria, because 10 different people both heard and saw. So some could see. Clearly, Leo could see with his eyes open. He could see the angels, but it wasn't independent of him. He would see it, and someone would hear it in the same room. And the messages were many, and they transcribed, and this is where the evidence comes into play. It's not a crazy person saying, oh, I hear a demon telling me, kill, destroy. Okay, sounds good. Let's go kill and destroy. No. They received many communications between the angels. Many communications. They had journals upon journals upon journals, pages upon pages. They did this with these entities for a couple years before it culminated to the horrific, tragic shooting of 4 people and 2 of them losing their lives horrifically. So one of the Halstead sisters could see and hear really well, and at some point she lost her gift, and she couldn't see and hear too well anymore. So they had to rely on Leo, who could see and hear perfectly the whole time. Leo is just a kid. He's somewhere around the age of 9, 10. Halstead sisters, there's Sharon Halstead and Deborah Halstead. I think it was Sharon. She was the leader until she lost her ability. Now, how did she gain her ability and lose it? How do these psychic abilities even work? Well, no one knows. It's a mysterious, mystic, occult thing. But after investigating and research many subjects and topics of the occult nature, clearly everyone is born with a spirit gift, but negative entities can also induce messages in your head. Negative entities can induce visions in your mind's eye. Negative entities can communicate with you. They can be a disembodied voice on rare occasions. Extremely rare is it something you can press the record button and hear. A lot of the times it's straight to the head. But if it's 10 people, straight to the head of 10 people, and they're all describing, oh, that's how he looked, that's what he looked like, that's what he looked like. Even Jesus supposedly visited this group. It's clearly a false Jesus. But the Jesus that one member sees is the exact same Jesus that another member saw. They said the wounds in Jesus' hands and side were glowing, with bright glowing coming out of the wounds. That's a detail they didn't make up. They both saw the same thing. They both saw the same negative entity pretending to be Jesus. We know they're negative entities because of the messages they gave. Like, don't tell anybody about our message. You are the chosen people. Don't tell your church leaders. Don't tell anyone. Keep it a secret amongst yourselves. I think they were told that initially. And then I think that angels, entities, negative entities, I think they did say spread the message, and they didn't want to spread it. They wanted to keep it to themselves. So at some point, the messages from the entities didn't go the way the entities wanted it to go. But they created a fictional totaled scenario where if someone's totaled, they no longer have a soul and they're totally controlled by a demon. And it's okay to blah, 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 etc. That person, steal from them, rob from them. Okay. First of all, these negative entities wore down this group's psychologically, spiritually, mentally, physically, drained them emotionally, any potential aspect of the human body and psyche and spirit were worn down. This didn't start with Leo, but because he remained to have the powers, and they could verify he could see and hear back when they could all see and hear. But the entities seem to have a child command the mother to do things. If your child is commanding you to do, pop some tires, slash a bunch of tires, and that's what the demons told the kid to tell the Bible study group to do, slash tires. These tires are all tires from totaled people, demon-possessed people. They're bad people. And slash all their tires to cause hardship. This is you getting a message from an angel from heaven to cause hardship among these demon-possessed people because it's God's will. They were so fooled and tricked and deceived, but it was a level of sin. Now, whether you believe in sin or not, it was a level of crime that the angels, and clearly if you're an atheist, you're not going to believe these angels exist. But the documentation, they communicated with up to 160 different angels. Now, clearly there is not 160 different angels they communicated with. They probably communicated with a handful of angels. I would say maybe they communicated with 10 angels, maybe one angel for each member. But these angels recycled guises and put on different masks and put on different names. Angel of truth, angel of the future, angel of this, angel of that, and one angel calling himself Naked Truth. I mean, come on, that sounds like a corny YouTube channel, Naked Truth. Anyway, one angel calling himself Naked Truth said, pop a bunch of tires, slash 30 tires. So once these people were willing to slash 30 tires, the demon, using a various medium of the group, sometimes it was an adult, commanded them to steal 10 TVs from this store. That store is totaled. A demon-possessed person owns that store. It's okay to reclaim property from that store. I believe they stole a motorcycle. They stole a pit bull out of a kennel. Now, this is where it gets a little unusual. It's not just people being commanded to shoplift and pop tires. Now, I didn't talk about that. So they're asked to steal 10 times from the same store, starting at the opening of that store's opening, like 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to, let's say, 6 p.m. Just keep going back, stealing from the same store. They were never caught once. The angels promised them they would never get caught. They never got caught. So that caused them to build confidence in what they were doing was of God, because they were never caught stealing. And they stole TVs. At one point, they stole 5 TVs from the same store, supposedly for God's people to be used, taken against these totaled individuals and totaled stores. After stealing for like a full 8 hours, they went home to rest and get a meal. And they got a commandment from the negative entities, from the angels, to pop tires all night. So after a huge shift of stealing all day, they were told they needed to slash tires. How many tires tonight? We're really tired. 30 tires. You need 30 cars. And if they said no, they would get threatened by Satan. Satan's going to be released from the pit to destroy you. And you're going to be totaled and you're going to be killed if you don't do this right now and slash the tires of 30 different cars. And they're going to be cars of totaled people, so they deserve the hardship of the slashing of the tires. This is relentless, extreme, and horrific. And eventually it culminated to kill such and such person, they're totaled, and such person, they are totaled. Probably the humans that these negative entities were threatened by, or the potential futures of these people were threatened by for one reason or another. Probably because they would have gone to the authorities earlier, gone to the church leaders earlier, stopped this madness earlier. The communications between the entities and the humans of this study group is probably some of the greatest evidence and proof that spirits exist, that negative spirits exist, that evil spirits exist in the history of books. But looking back on it 30 plus years ago, it seems everyone involved in the incidents have now distanced themselves into believing it was a horrific, tragic thing. It sucks. And they don't seem to repeat anything Roger talked about, because they've been like the spirits who wore them down during the tragic events, from slashing tires to shoplifting to killing. That was a wearing down process. The planet Earth, the worldly world around us, is going to wear down those same people for the remainder of their lives to believe you were delusional, you were crazy, mass hysteria, it didn't happen, these entities never existed. And that's the hugest gap. That's the hugest missing puzzle piece between this book and today. Is very few people are going to believe the spirits ever existed. But the communications were too detailed. Similar visions were too detailed. How did it start? Well, some of the members were closing their eyes and they saw a picture pop into their head of an angel. And everyone else saw the same angel pop into their head. And eventually they could see it with their eyes opened, but in their head. Some of the members could see it outside of their head, just manifesting, materializing, straight to the head, audible, outside of the head. It's too many people to be tricked and deceived into thinking there are spirits there, or angels there, or entities there, and they're not actually being them, because messages were given, messages over and over and over again. These people weren't smart enough to create a dialogue and invent it from scratch. They were deceived. They weren't the brightest tools in the shed. They weren't the brightest bulbs at the Thomas Edison Museum. But they knew right from wrong, and they were deceived to an extreme degree. Hey, I just woke up. I want to crank this video out. Time for a delicious beverage break. I watched the documentary, Beware of Angels. You can watch it for free on Tubi right now. Tubi. Not an advertisement, but if you don't want to read the book, you can watch that and get a gist of what the story was. The angels manifested, 160 of them. I think it was just a few negative entities putting on the disguise and guise of a bunch of different angelic beings. You know, they appeared like New Age BS artists that all these ascended masters appear as. You know, flowing robes, halo over their head, glowing hair and eyes, and all nice and perfect, giving you a beautiful message. 2 years later, that message changes to slash a bunch of people's tires, rob from this store over and over and over and over for like an 8-hour shift. Just keep relentlessly stealing from the same store. You're never going to get caught. Don't worry about it. They were not caught. The pit bull. Okay. So a skeptic can explain away the store saying, shoplifting happens and shoplifters get away with it. But the spirit, the fallen angel, directed them, go to this kennel and steal this pit bull. The cage is going to be unlocked. All you need is a leash and a collar. That's it. Get this size leash, get this size collar, and you can steal that pit bull on behalf of God's work. We need it. I don't know whatever happened to that pit bull, but they apparently kept it for protection or whatever the case, who knows. All we do know is they walked into the kennel, probably the Halstead sisters. All the dogs were at attention. None of the dogs were barking. They said it had to be done in silence. They opened up the pit bull's cage and it was unlocked. They put the collar around the pit bull's neck and just casually walked it out the building, and they successfully stole it. Nobody noticed, nobody saw, and it was as smooth as the fallen angels said it was going to be. Explain that away. A, they don't know there's a pit bull there. B, they don't know the cage is unlocked. C, they don't know it's going to be perfectly smooth and quiet. So many of the missions the angels sent these people on were exactly as successful as the angels said they were going to be. They shoplifted for hours on end from many stores over and over and over and over, morning until evening. And then they slashed tires. They said even in broad daylight, they were slashing tires relentlessly, all over the place, all the time. You can just see the demons laughing. The next day, this family's having breakfast, and the demons are like checking out the slashed tires going, you got a surprise in the morning. Good luck getting to work. These demons are pure evil. They existed. I wish I could give better examples of who they were and what they pretended to be, what they said. But you basically got to watch the documentary, Beware of Angels. Basically, you have to read the book yourself. I read one chapter for free online once, and I wasn't interested at all. The meat of the book is right in the middle. You got to get in the middle of this book to really see. And Roger drops a couple hints of things the devil priest mentioned in the Secret Society in 1946. So for that reason alone, the couple additional pieces of information alone is worth getting this book. But if an entity appears to you in your head, in your mind's eye, flashes of vision, you can hear a voice of it, you might be crazy, all right? Let's face it, that does exist. But you also could be a target for deception. Don't listen to it, don't obey it, don't pay attention to it, ignore it to an extreme degree. It's never happened to me. But I do believe it did happen to this Bible study group. They started out Seventh-day Adventist, they ended out in prison, and there are living victims and tragic passed away victims. And it really changed the lives of these people for the worse, for the rest of their lives. Leo. You can see Leo, the kid who channeled and saw the manifestations and communicated with angels to such a degree he asked his mom to, carry out these orders. He appeared in a TV show, and he said, the events were they transpired so quickly, we didn't know what was happening, we didn't know what was going on. It resulted in extreme loss, and his mother was locked up for the rest of her life. And so in no way, shape, or form would I blame Leo. He was just a kid receiving messages like everyone else in the group. I don't think he was making it up. I think because of the many adults that saw and heard the same thing he saw and heard, he happened to be a conduit at that time. I would like to interview from the perspective of, do you think the entities ever existed? And I would probably get a resounding no from many of them, because they want to distance themselves so far, they don't even want to acknowledge the spiritual aspect. Very scary stuff, but is Roger Morneau's very last book. And so I think it deserves some focus and attention and importance. Not the type of book I focus on and read, but because it's from Roger Morneau, I had to read it. I had to read it. That is my review of Beware of Angels. Stay tuned. My investigation on Roger Morneau's spiritist cult secret society he joined in Montreal in 1946. I'm going to find that building. If anyone on planet Earth finds the building, if it still exists, it could have been demolished many, many years ago. Many of those relic buildings were demolished. But if it stands, I will find it. Stay tuned. More episodes coming soon. The Roger Morneau Secret Society documentary coming soon. Be seeing you.